I don't know, we
That's
started
wild.
giving out. I don't know if you heard, but Ohio gives or is doing $1 million giveaway
I heard
for
about
those that
saw
get
that.
that.
vaccinated. Yep, that I'm like, you're really bribing people with money to get vaccinated.
I
Like,
heard it's
go
working.
Hell
ahead,
yeah.
by all means, but that's just crazy though. Like,
I mean, but I heard it's
I
working.
mean,
it's
I
working,
mean,
that's for
it's.
sure. Which thankfully, but
I mean, you got to. I mean, first it was bribing people with Krispy Kreme donuts, even though that doctor had an issue with it. Um, and yeah, and I think there's something that's given. What are they giving? They were giving money to everybody that got vaccinated. I think was it like Pennsylvania or something? There was something that was giving people.
really,
Yeah,
Because I
they
know
were paying
Ohio
people to
was
get
giving out
vaccinated.
two things. They were giving out $1 million and full ride
yep,
scholarships.
yep.
I'm just like, full rides,
Can we
bro.
backdate that? Like,
Right here, right here. Bring that shot here. Oh my! It's been hard to get. It's crazy. It's been hard to get my family vaccinated.
oh my god, yeah.
And it's man, I'm like, yo, I'm a full ass scientist here, and then I have a dumbass brother who's a physician, and he was just like, oh, I had COVID at the beginning, I have the antibodies, I'm good. I was like, bro, that's not how that works, shit. I was like, bro, you were good for like 3 months, and it's been over a year. So what are you talking about? And so I don't know if he ever got vaccinated. I mean, he wouldn't tell us if he did, but like the shit is
Why all of a
madness.
sudden now this shit is such a secret and such a like people like, oh, it's a personal decision. And I'm like, this COVID is like, it's like everything else. You ask people, did you get the flu shot? You gonna get the flu shot? Did you get tetanus? Did you get chickenpox? Did you get MMR? Like, but now whether or not you got COVID-19 vaccination, like, well, that's a personal decision. Or
Yeah.
people like, I'm gonna wait. Wait for what?
Well, you know, I'm gonna
Or
wait
there
and
was
see what
something that was
happens.
there was some news. I'm like, we didn't already see what happened over the last year, but some people are like, well, there's some women that are gonna they're gonna wait for the vaccine. I mean, they're not getting the vaccine because they don't know how it's gonna protect their fertility
yep.
30, 40 years from now. And someone's like, what 60 and 70-year-olds are having kids? What do you mean
Facts.
affect your fertility?
30 years from
And
now.
honestly, yeah, like who or people I know when the vaccine earlier this year when I was at the gym in Detroit and they were saying like, in 15 years, you're gonna be saying, well, if you had this vaccine, you may be eligible for compensation. I was like, guess what? You're gonna be alive 15 years from now.
Look at
You don't
that.
have a vaccine, you're not
Yep.
gonna be alive.
Look at that. Oh my! No, it's
I'd rather
wild. It's wild because like in the trials there were one pregnant woman and two women who got pregnant after getting the shot and then having children, and those children were actually had antibodies for COVID.
and had the antibodies.
Yeah, and
Yep.
were already protected. So I don't see a negative here. Well, we're
I mean,
making babies who are protected from COVID. Like what? Evolution. Ah,
this is natural selection, right? I mean,
ah.
last year was a natural selection, but right now we're having natural selection. Those who choose not to get the vaccines, we're just going to weed those genes out. Hope if they end up having those consequences.
I'm sure.
Um,
It's it's
Especially
frustrating.
since we're having more virulent strands, and
Yep.
It's
so
good that the vaccines are effective against those too. Um so yeah, I mean yeah, I don't. I told my family at one point, I was just like, you know what, man, I've said my piece. If y'all get sick, that's on y'all. I
don't ask me to send y'all nothing.
I'm just
Don't ask me
I'm
to come take care of y'all.
I was like, yo, I don't care anymore. I told him that, like, cause we got a family group chat. I was like, yo, I don't care anymore. Like one of my brothers, no, because I literally was like, yo, if y'all die, y'all die. Like I can't. There's nothing I can do. And one of my
Like, who I
brothers,
need to take health insurance? I don't.
I was like, yo, man, I get money either way, whatever. Like, I was like, yo, man, I'm trying to save y'all lives, and y'all just don't care. And I have a very religious family talking about, oh, God's got us, God's gonna save us. I'm just
God developed science.
That don't matter.
That's
That don't matter, man.
I mean, I have people in my family that are like religious, and it trips me out when they have health conditions and they talk about the power of prayer. And I was like, but I'd be like, y'all forget the thing, faith without works is dead. You still gotta take your medicine, you still gotta exercise, you still gotta eat right. God created doctors.
But yeah, that it's madness. It's madness. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, like, I want to go home and visit, which I'm protected against anything anyway. So since I'm fully vaccinated, because I was like, yo, I wanted to plan to go home for just to visit because I haven't been home in a while. Also at the same time, I have my cousin's getting married in August. So yeah, I had to go back home for that.
But I mean, even though you're vaccinated, you don't know if you can potentially still you could still be a carrier.
Yeah,
there's a slight chance that you could be, and they're not vaccinated.
Right. Yeah, that's the issue. That's kind of what I'm dealing with. I'm just like, this sucks. This sucks. I was like, you guys understand why I don't come around. That's, yeah, what can you do? What can you do? I mean, hopefully they see the light at some point. I was like, it's not only to protect you, it's to protect other people, especially the immunocompromised. So, but you know,
I know humans are selfish, but it's just so shocking to me that they are as selfish as they are, just humans in general. Because even with the mask, people are like, well, masks meet people. The whole argument of like, a mask can't stop me from getting sick. And it's like, no, a mask protects the other people. So it prevents, if you're sick, you're getting someone else sick. Because I know when I went to Florida last year, I was like, okay, so we wearing a mask. So we protecting those people from getting us sick, but they ain't wearing a mask, so they ain't protecting us. I was like, well, fuck, this is some bullshit. But
yeah. I mean, honestly, man, you got to just try to protect yourself as best as possible. At this point, protect yourself as best as possible. Don't worry about everybody else. Like, I mean, we tried. I mean, it's other people's jobs to try to worry about that. Right about now, I got other shit to worry about. Other shit to worry about. But yeah, so this week, which was supposed to be, I think, a couple weeks ago, then we started talking about mental health.
Mentoring.
Yeah, mentoring. Mentoring, good mentoring, bad mentoring. Finding a mentor. What a good one, bad one is. What it looks like. Should you get out your situation? Shit like that. But yeah, I mean, I got some stories. I mean, I had a lot of bad mentors, but actually right now it's half and half. I had 3-2. I had three bad. Well, we'll get into that in a second. Because I was just like mentors, advisors, PIs. There's a difference. But yeah, cool with that. Cool with mentoring.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
What's this little?
It's just to get into it, you know what I'm saying? Let's get into it. Let's do the drop. Yeah. All right. Welcome back to another episode of At the Bench. I am your good-looking, charming, big, black, and beautiful host.
Who doesn't know how to post a proper thirst trap?
Okay. Depends on what you mean by proper.
Wow.
I know, right?
You don't want to sit up there talking about I am your beautiful brother. So I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since you're doing that, you're trying to do it. You're doing the
you were asking
doing the
for
podcast.
It,
yeah. You're doing the audio version of a thirst trap right now. So.
No, okay. Listen. I have a power body. Okay, so I'm not as cut down, in the
okay,
ad area.
I guess.
And and people got to see other
What does that have
muscles.
to what does that have to do with anything? I just told you that you needed to take off your powerlifting belt.
I mean, yeah. You know what? I to be honest, I was going to at the end of the lift, and I forgot.
Okay. See?
I forgot because I was gonna take it off like when I was walking towards the camera, and I
See, that would have been better. I mean, I was just giving you some critiques, some friendly critiques. Next time you do one, we can make it a little bit more thirsty.
Okay. And you know what? It's a progression. There's levels to this. It's a progression.
You're learning.
Give them a little something now, and then give a little something later on. Give it a little something more later on.
And eventually you slide into like the sweaty sauna pics.
I don't know, but sure. I don't. It's a progression, I guess. I don't know. And then all of a sudden I have OnlyFans. I don't know how I feel about it.
Slippery slope.
It is, isn't it? And then women asking me, it's like, could you send me like a personal pic, or is that, like I feel like that's what's next. That's what's next out here. It's the gateway drug. It's the gateway thirst trap drug.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, so you're saying you're willing to pay me for a shirtless pic? Huh? You said you want me to take my pants off now. Okay, see. Now.
I mean, I do. I am trying to buy a house. Maybe I need to like. Interesting.
We don't we all? It's like you think about it. You think about it.
I know, right?
I'm good. You think, yeah, man. I've seen some scientists who do have OnlyFans, and I'm like,
oh, there's some powerlifters that have OnlyFans. I've seen
some famous ones.
Yeah, there's this. No, just younger. Like there's this one girl that I follow that all of a sudden I just saw that she started. She was posting some pics on Instagram, and then I started seeing that she has an OnlyFans. So she's like powerlifting, but yeah. So apparently that's the thing. So
more power to them, I guess.
People like powerlifting bodies. They don't just always want the bodybuilding bodies or the bikini bodies, but they like powerlifting.
No, the bodybuilding bodies don't do it for me. Nor do the bikini bodies. Like,
I'm sorry. I was talking about dudes, but no. Okay, well, never mind. When I was thinking, okay.
Oh, it was okay. Oh, I got.
No. This is a girl.
Yeah.
That has the OnlyFans. But when I said people like bodybuilding bodies, I was thinking dudes, and then bikini bodies, I was thinking girls.
Okay.
But yeah, I can with the bodybuilding, like, yeah. I mean, people also like girl bodybuilding bodies, but I was just thinking from my perspective, like people like men bodybuilding bodies too.
True.
But they also like powerlifting bodies. Men, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Just thinking like you kind of more built like Flow Rider, like where you have muscle, but you got a little layer of fat fluffiness on there. Which people do like that. You don't always want just cut muscle.
Did I get body shamed?
No, you are not body shamed.
A little bit.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Fluffy's nice. Fluffy is awesome.
I need that layer of fat protecting my muscle while I live.
Yeah, you want to have something. You want to have something to like lay your head on. You want something to be like kind of like soft, or a little something to grab onto.
Okay, sure. My God, yeah, we off the right off the bat.
Where is this going?
Right off the bat, out the gate, we just out here just, oh my God, and this is not even where our conversation should even be going. Let me. We got me, Dr. Stevens.
All right, let's go back to mentoring.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even got there yet. See, we got Dr. Semnika, we got Trevor in the building, the three amigos, bro. Like, so this week we are going to, contrary to what we just started off with, we
you was hyping yourself up with a whole bunch of adjectives. So okay,
I can do what I want.
as can I.
Okay, you're right. We are going to talk about mentoring. Yeah, mentoring, not OnlyFans, not thirst traps. We're going to talk about mentoring this week. And you know what? it's mentors in the STEM realm are so important. I feel like in a lot of cases it can make or break your career. In many cases, because it can hold you back from graduating. It can help you to graduate. It can hold you back from getting a job, especially with that letter of rec that is so vitally important. Um, so there's a lot of things to hit on, but what I want to hit on personally is, what makes a good mentor, what makes a bad mentor, how to choose the right one, and what people need to realize, especially in science, especially if you're doing research, there's a difference between mentoring or having a mentor, having an advisor, and then having a PI, because they're not equally exclusive. They're not equally the same. They're mutually exclusive. You know what I'm saying? So I'll start off with and correct, either one of y'all correct me if I'm wrong. So like your PI is basically just your boss. Like your PI is just there. He's kind of a facilitator. He's just there to cross some T's, dot some I's, sign some papers. He doesn't really he's involved in the research, but he's not like guiding your research, because maybe if you're a grad student, the postdoc is most likely guiding your research, or the grad student is guiding the undergrad's research or some shit like that. He's not really in the process. They tell you what to do here and there, but they are not really helping with your development. An advisor, I feel, advises your project. I mean, they're more involved. They're helpful, but you can go to them about certain things, but you can't go to them about everything. I feel like an advisor, it just, as the word says, it just advises you. They're your overseer. They're kind of your manager, like that. They manage you in this case. Now, mentor, someone who is helping develop you as a scientist. They are very much involved in your research. They're very much involved in your development as a scientist, helping you write papers, grants, things like that. Helping you with your critical thinking like a scientist, because that's so vitally important. What do you need to look out for? The kinds of things that you need to be thinking about when moving your project forward, and kind of letting you kind of guide your own way or guide your project, but being there as a support system. They are an actual support system where you can go to them about things, and it's a better relationship than the other two. And usually it's an open relationship to where you can go and you can talk to them. You can talk to them about what's bothering you scientifically, or sometimes even personally, because the STEM and scientific world, it gets very personal sometimes, and like you have to deal with certain personalities, and you need a mentor to help you, guide you through this community, because it's a hodgepodge of crazy people. But correct, one of y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like this is how I feel about it.
Okay, so I'm not saying that you're wrong. I know that different disciplines, they have different views on this. So first, let's define PI, primary investigator. So just because some people might not know what PI is. But I do agree in some aspects, but then some of them not so much. So yeah, the PI, primary investigator, that's usually the person who that might be, usually most projects have the primary person who oversees that. They're probably the one that wrote the grant. They're probably the one that's in charge of the money. They're definitely essentially the boss. They supervise the project for the most part. Your advisor is usually, I see the advisor as the person who is supposed to get you from point A to point B. They're usually the one that probably brings you in. They recruited you to be in their lab. And then their goal is to get you across that finish line. They are usually, most programs, when you're in a grad program, you have an advisor whose lab you work in. So a lot of times the PI and the advisor are the exact same person. You will probably have, if you're in a lab, like I wasn't in a lab that had like a postdoc or whatnot. So I definitely think it depends on what type of lab you have. Some of them, they have multiple postdocs, some not, but usually that, I think the postdocs tend to be more of a mentor probably role. And then when I think of mentors, one thing is you definitely shouldn't just have one mentor. Like you can't depend on one person to help you with everything. Because I know you said like mentor, research, and then also like maybe personal problems. And I tend to think more so the advisor is with the research. They're tend the ones to be to guide you because they're getting you from point A to point 3. But you want to have mentors or people you can talk to about maybe like your career goals, any doubts that you might have. I think of having, with my students, we had them do a mentor map, and usually you have like a mentor for, professional development, a mentor for if you want to be, let's say you want to be a professor, like I want to be a professor, you have teaching component, you have the research component, you have the service. So I would have a mentor to help me with my teaching, figure out what I need to do for teaching. Then you have the mentor for research. Maybe a mentor for writing, a mentor for service things, a mentor for outreach or things like that. Just a mentor for, sometimes I literally, on my mentoring committee right now, I literally have a mentor who is, I just have a Black person, a Black professor, because I need someone to help me figure out the dynamics of being a Black person in academia that white people won't necessarily have. So I have like different parts of my mentoring where people are literally, oh, I need you as my mentor because you are another Black woman and I need to be able to talk to them about certain things. And you also have peer mentors. So even when you're in a lab, you might have multiple, there's multiple grad students in the lab. You might choose someone who is maybe a year ahead of you that could be your mentor, that like a peer mentor that can help you with those things that your advisor doesn't know because they don't have to do that. Like they know, okay, maybe, these are how many credits you have to take, but they might not, they haven't taken this class. So like a peer mentor can say, don't take that class with that professor. Like, even though that has that class description, that's not a good class to take, or this is the paperwork you got to fill out. So.
Okay. What about you, Trevor?
It's hard to speak on that because I'm not in that area. I'm not in, academia, so I don't have the PI, the advisor. But what I can speak on is, what I have is a manager. It's the lab manager. And if you're in industry and if you're with a good company, they're going to have a mentor program. They're going to have somebody something that you can take advantage of. It's not going to be shoved down your throat, but if you, actually look for, at least the 2 that I've been on, it's not something that's readily available. It's something that I had to actually personally ask for. And that's kind of where I'm in the process now is trying to find that specific mentor, which could be your manager. I find it's difficult to have your manager as a mentor because as far as I've seen, very few managers or supervisors are comfortable taking that mentor role because that is more of a personal relationship. Right. I feel like that they are trying to distance themselves from, which is understandable. I mean, if you're in charge of, you wouldn't see, correct me if I'm wrong, but would a PI take that mentor relationship? Would that be something, or is that something, because they're basically the manager, if I'm correct, right? Kind of the head up of the lab.
Yeah. There's
that,
well, you wouldn't. There's lab managers too. So
okay.
and the lab, but there are PIs who do take on a mentoring role. Who enjoys it.
I mean, there are some that do that, but honestly, I don't want my advisor to be my mentor. Like, one of my master's advisor, he is now my mentor. But he wasn't my mentor when he was my advisor. And then my PhD advisor, I never considered him my mentor while I was in my PhD program. And as I've left, he didn't become my mentor. So I don't still communicate with him on a regular basis because we just have, I had a fairly good experience as a PhD student like mine. I was incredibly lucky, but it just didn't transition into a mentor role where we're like on a regular basis. As far as one thing I was going to say, I mean, Trevor, you're undergrad, you have an advisor. like you have an undergraduate advisor, and like, so you do have like, it's that one person who's like, their job is to get you to graduation. They tell you what classes to take. Maybe you might, you know, if you talk to them about your career goals, they might be like, hey, this is something you, because I'm also an undergrad, a part of us, the professors, we have to be undergrad advisors. So we get like 10 students a year. And it basically, we advise them in their last 2 years of like what courses they can take when they're doing their internships, and any questions like what they want to do if they're trying to go to grad school, like, okay, these are some things you should think about, and just any questions they have to get them across that finish line.
That's cool. I guess, well, I think I don't know. So my current boss, PI, advisor, mentor, whatever you want to call him, I see how he is with his grad students, his postdocs, including me. He's kind of that anomaly of, I guess, PIs who actually enjoy being a mentor and mentoring. So he wants to be a mentor. Like he wants to mentor you. He wants to mentor you, advise you. And he doesn't even see himself as my boss. Like he was like, yo, you have your PhD, I have mine. We're equals out here. And, you know, I'm just here to give you suggestions on your project and get you to the next stage, get you to that next step. So, and it's right, because I honestly, I do whatever the fuck I want currently. like with some financial restrictions here and there, but that's just, you know, kind of a part of academia anyway. But like I literally just drive my project. I do what I want. Now granted,
as you should, as a postdoc,
right? Well,
no, but I know there are some labs that they don't do that, which are sucky situations, and why I really didn't want a postdoc. But if I was going to do it postdoc, it would have had to be independent.
Right. Well, that's the thing though. And when I was looking for postdocs, I was making sure that because I was like, yo, man, listen, I know what I bring to the table. I know I'm an independent worker. I know that I can develop a project and make it successful. I just need to be in a place that's going to allow me to do that. And he was the one place that he was just like, yeah, man, like this is, I'm just here to help you. I'm just here to help you be successful. I'm just here to help you get to the next stage. And he's continuously trying to convince me to go into academia. And I was just like, bro, I'm here. Like, what do you mean? Like because he thinks
I was like, I thought you already made that decision.
But I think he was just like, well, you know, I just want to, you know, make sure you keep your options open and things like that. I'm just like, brother, like we've talked about this on multiple occasions. Like I am going into academia. I'm going to, you know, go in head first and try my hand at it, and see if I can be successful. And I think he thinks at some point I'm going to change my mind and go for the money. But I'm just like, bro, you can like whatever he makes. I'm trying to make what he makes, because for some reason he keeps talking about, man, they paid me a ridiculous amount of money here. I'm just like, what's a ridiculous amount? let me know what
you at a public university. You know, you can look it up, right?
Shit, I didn't think about that.
Okay, I swear. Okay, no, it's funny because when we talk, and I'd be like, you just don't. There's some things you just really don't know.
Oh hell no!
Or you don't remember.
Bro, I don't know.
Okay.
I know how I can look up people's funding. I found that out when I worked at the NIH. I can look up people's funding, how much money they have in grants.
All public university salaries are public.
Shit, that's something I did not know.
That's okay, because that's something you have to know when you get an offer letter. When you get an offer, you want to look up to see if they're paying you the comparable what they paid other people. Especially as a Black person, you want to make sure that they're not lowballing you. Because I'm definitely one thing I was like, okay, who got hired last year? How much did they come in at? Making sure they ain't like try to do anything lower. But yeah, you just be like salaries, yeah.
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 So
what is his? Are you looking at it right now? So have you, okay, so he's trying to get you into academia. So I'm just wondering, as a postdoc, how long have you been there?
Less than a year. It's coming up on a year in August.
Okay, so you started in August. All right. So I guess, so you've been there about a year. Have y'all talked about any opportunities? I'm like, I consider myself right now, we peer mentors.
Okay.
Just so you know, I'm one of your peer mentors. But have you thought about teaching any? I'm assigning mine that role because you already seen where I was like, here's our jobs.
Yep,
you know, have you started writing your research statement, your teaching statement, and your diversity statement?
All that, yes.
All right. Remember, I was gonna give you feedback on them. Have you thought about actually teaching, like opportunity to teach your course while you're a postdoc?
So
have you talked about that?
Yeah, so I actually there's a lot of things I bring to him because a lot of shit it's unusual because of the pandemic. And so I brought that up to him, and he was like, shoot, if you want to do it. He was like, then he was like, well, I assume
okay, that's cool.
I wanted a position without any teaching. I was just like, well, that's probably rare and probably never gonna happen, and I know I have to like teach. Like I guess he knows of some like academia positions where you're just strictly researching, and I'm just like,
they're not tenure track. They're not tenure track.
Oh, okay. See, and then I don't want that. I want my shit to be guaranteed.
You want tenure? Yeah, right. Yeah. You can get you could be if you're like a research professorship, you'll get like a 5-year contract where you're not required to teach, but it's not a tenured position.
Right.
You got to have, even if it's like 20-30% teaching, well, you might teach 1 or 2 classes, but yeah, if you want tenure, you got to teach.
He only teaches 1 class, and it's like twice a week.
But he's 10-year track. Yeah, but that's the thing.
Tenured. I think he's a full professor.
He's tenured, but I'm saying, but he had a tenure track position. That's why he teaches. But if
right.
Because I mean, some people don't want to teach, and then if you don't want to teach, I hate the people that don't want to teach, but they want a tenure track position, and I'm like, or they apply for tenure track position and they ain't never taught. But that actually helps you get the job if you have taught, and it makes you can write a good teaching statement, because it's crazy when you read. I just did a job search and you read teaching statements and this person ain't never taught, and you like, yeah, we can tell you ain't never taught because you really think you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
that don't make no sense.
But like I would teach like lab classes here and there in grad school. But I'm trying to get to the point where I can teach a full on course. I'm trying to just get that experience. He's worried about I know he's really worried about that. He's worried about my
research.
Getting my research off the ground and making sure I have a good foundation for my research before I start putting my hands in different pots. And I'm just like, well, listen, bro, like
he a little old school.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I was like, listen, bro, like old school, new school, he rides his skateboard down the hallway, whatever. That's what he does. And like shorts and flip-flops, this man is he big chilling. And so
as you can do when you get tenure. I can't wait till I get tenure.
Right.
I'm gonna be in shorts and flip-flops.
Doing whatever the fuck I want. But yeah, so he just wanted me to make sure because because of the pandemic, and he thought things were going to go slowly, and things are like, he was like, bro, like one, he was like, yo, I haven't seen an independent I haven't seen such independence in a postdoc in their like first couple months since or he's never seen this kind of independence from a postdoc before, just starting out.
Has he ever had a Black postdoc before? No. Therefore, bam, because I got the same thing about me being a grad student. I've never had a grad student that's independent. Have you ever had a Black grad student, Black woman grad student? No. See, that's the reason why. You should see if you could potentially in the fall do like a seminar class where it's like a 1 credit with grad students on like a specific topic.
Okay.
That would be like just a good segue into like discussion based, where you have like maybe 5 or 10 on a specific topic that's rated to microscopy or whatever, and then you'll be the actual like lead person on the course, and that would look really good on your CV.
Yeah, I fucked with that. Yeah. So,
but good. He sounds like a good mentor.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. Like I honestly, because I've had terrible ones before. Uh, Many of them. Um, like
I
and
know
what.
nothing about that life.
Well, so the thing is, if it wasn't for my initial mentor, who wasn't really who I didn't consider a mentor first starting off, but he like developed into that mentor later
He
on in life,
forced
like
himself
through.
into a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, like he just kind of got into it, and like so he was my undergraduate research advisor, and he, granted, and I tell this story all the time to people, and I'm just like, look, man, the first thing he said to me before joining his lab, he was like, look, anything you don't know, I'll teach you. Anything we both don't know, we'll learn together. And it was, I didn't know how impactful that was until later on, until I got into grad school, and I was like, oh shit, other people don't have this mindset.
Oh, not at all.
Other people don't really give a fuck about you, And I mean, not to discourage people from grad school, but like, you just got to find the right people. But I had my first research experience was extremely positive, like extremely positive. Like the the people who I was around, like the people who I was around, and being around him, and him teaching me, and I kind of like intellectually guiding my project alongside him, was just, it was stimulating, right? And then I get into grad school, and if anybody has heard like my story, especially on YouTube, Diaries of a Black Scientist, like um I had my first initial graduate research mentor. He told, like, when I left his lab, because it just shit wasn't working out. When I left his lab, he was like, "Oh, a non-thesis master's is probably good enough for you to get a good job. You learned enough in my lab to get a job." And I'm just like, bro, I told you I was switching labs. I wasn't leaving the school. Like, what the fuck? Some Asian dude, fresh off the boat, and he would go back and forth from China to America all the time, and he was barely there, so it just didn't matter. And then my second one is like, after being called a racial slur and trying to make a complaint about that, he even was just like, yo, drop this, or you won't have a place in this lab or at this university or in this department if you don't drop this. And then he would say shit like, "Oh, you remind me of my black friend." I was like, "Yo, you know what, man? I'm assured that you don't have a black friend. Like, if you saying shit like this, and shit like this,
They do.
huh? Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do, though.
Well, but yeah, so like and it was mostly about it wasn't about any career choices. It was mostly about it was about the science, but they just saw me as a worker, or you can call it a tech. They just saw me as a worker. It just, I wasn't intellectually stimulated, and they put their, especially the second one, he put his most of his energy into my white counterparts. So like, I really didn't matter, even though I was the only one publishing papers. I was the only one getting results. That didn't matter. Like, I was still the one on the outside looking in, right? And then after I left there and went to Howard, um, I thought I was going to get a black mentor. I thought it was going to be better. I thought shit was going to be like, hey, hell yeah. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. Like, my advisor wasn't really an advisor to me. I got myself over the finish line, and he didn't help at all. Like, literally, he didn't even read my dissertation.
I mean, he was your PI, so he
Yeah,
wasn't even
yeah,
an advisor.
yeah. He was just my PI. And the thing is, like, when I was going on interviews for postdocs, people was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, I barely see my advisor, so whatever. And there was like, what do you mean you barely see him? I was like, I might see him once a month, once every 2 months, something like that. And they was like, that's highly unusual. And I was just like, I don't know. He didn't want to meet with me like weekly. He didn't ask for weekly updates. He didn't ask for any, like, it'll be at the beginning. He'll act like he would want to do some shit like that. and it would be at the beginning of each semester, he'll be like, "Oh, you need to start checking in with me more. You need to start doing this. You need to start doing that." It's like, okay, I started doing that, and then he continued to cancel. Then I stopped doing that, and then he never said anything about it again. So I was just like, oh, well, then it was just all lip service at this point. So I went through a string of terrible advisors, or terrible PIs, shit, and I knew that going into my postdoc, I wanted to find someone who was going to be an advisor and a mentor to me. You know, someone who I could rely on, someone who I got a good feel from, who was going to let me and help me develop me as a scientist. You know, help me get to that next step, and you know, that was highly, highly important to me, because dealing with dealing with the shit that I dealt with in grad school, throughout grad school, I knew that I needed to. Well, not that I needed to, but I had a want to be a mentor to others that nobody was willing to be to me while I was in grad school. So that's you know, the I guess in a nutshell, that's what good and bad, you know, PIs, advisors, mentors do, you know. So that's kind of my whole thing.
I mean, it's good that, I mean, it's the fact that it sucks that you had to like have this like resilience to overcome it. But the fact that you did and you were able to find someone for your postdoc, that at least those experiences taught you what you didn't want, and also taught you the red flags to kind of look out for. So then when you were choosing your postdoc, you were able to like have conversations with them, ask them questions to try to figure out, okay, you know what? And sometimes it takes that trial and error, which just, it kind of sucks. And luckily that, even though like it sucks that you had experience, with the fact that you were still lucky enough to get your master's degree, to get your PhD, to graduate. Because some people, when they have those shitty advisors, they never even get the degree, or they'll have advisors where they're just like, you know, he didn't read it, but at least he still signed off on it, because he still had to sign off on, you know, a part with your committee and making sure that you were able to graduate. Because there's some that can be very fucking vindictive and say, "Oh, you're not making progress towards your PhD because you didn't meet with me, even though I am the one that keep canceling the appointments and stuff like that."
The fuck.
So.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up. I mean, I will say that, but you know, I I can literally say that I pushed myself over the finish line in many of these cases. When I had to leave Georgia State, after getting pretty much blackballed from the whole university, from the department, I told the graduate coordinator, who that you always need someone in a prime position to help you along the way. The graduate coordinator was in a prime position to help me. He was a black guy, and I told him, I was like, "Look, man, I want my master's degree and I want out," because I was a PhD student at that time. And I told him, I was like, "Look, man, I want my master's degree and I want out." And he was like, "All right, I'll make it happen." Because he knew, like, I told him everything that was going on, and he was just like, hey, he understood.
So in essence, he was sort of a mentor that kind of helped guide you, so you could get your I know, because it's crazy, because I know several people who started with like Black women that started with, like, they started in a PhD program and then they ended up leaving with their master's to go to somewhere else because they had those issues. And sometimes it's you bring in a student because there just happens to be some type of diversity funding or something, and then they don't necessarily know how to interact with us. They've never interacted, and they assume that they can say certain things, or assume that they have certain assumptions of what we can and cannot do. And then, or they think that you need, or even get intimidated when you are more independent than they thought you were. Like, want to be like kind of like savior syndrome. So then when that happens, or they don't want to think about you make these complaints and they don't want to deal with it like that. That really sucks that you had someone that says that you need to drop this racial complaint or you need to leave. Yeah. And it's actually interesting because I am in the middle of an investigation against my department my director of my program for my PhD, where actually at the end of this month, they'll actually, so it stemmed from last year's tweets about Black in academia. And I was doing tweets, and then someone anonymously, so me and my best friend, we were posting about the same person, but we didn't like actually say our name. And then someone they were like, hey, is this the person, this person's advisor? And that's the same person? I didn't know this was happening. I'm going to complain, like I'm going to report this. So they actually sent our tweets, and I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. So I actually decided to actually file a complaint against her. And then one of the things they were like, well, why didn't you say anything while you were in? I'm like, she's the director of my program. Why would I say something while it was happening? Because, and it was like these small little things where you have like hurdles to jump through. Because it was like, she wouldn't sign paperwork on time. She would make these little snide comments about, oh, what fellowship I didn't get, or things like that. And like, I'm just like, my whole thing is to get out. And I was like, I was lucky that I did have an advisor that kind of went to bat to me, because like, and I talk about this on my other podcast about, it was like barely a few weeks into my first semester, and she expressed concerns about my progress because she misinterpreted what fellowship I was applying for. So she thought I was applying for the NSF GRP when I was actually applying for the Ford Fellowship. And our first assignment in this orientation class was to write an outline. And based on the outline, since I'm applying to a whole nother fellowship, she thought I couldn't follow simple directions. And she also assumed that I waited to the last minute to do the assignment. So she sent the email to my advisor expressing concerns about my progress. And it was hilarious. It was actually in the email thread. And since that whole thing at the beginning, I've already had, like, I was kind of worried, like just wary of her. And then like, it was things that like I needed, that she had to sign because she's the director, and she would just like, kind of like just push it off or not do it. And she also got upset because she made a comment about the fact that I negotiated when I got into my PhD program for extra money. Because I was like, if y'all want me to come here, and then she wasn't director at that time. So when she came, she was like, how come I didn't know about this? Why are you getting, like, basically it's like, why? I'm like, because y'all ain't got, I literally was the first Black person to graduate from this program. Like, if y'all want me to come here, I'm like, y'all need to give me a little bit extra money, because I'm coming from a full-time job. I'm taking a pay cut. And then, well, the thing was, I ended up, so my program guaranteed 5 years of funding at a certain amount, where it's like 9 months salary. So 9 months was like $21,000. But I ended up getting through the graduate college, a fellowship for two years for $20,000 for 12 months. So that averaged out to my monthly paycheck being like $1,600 or $1,700 a month. Whereas if I was a TA for 9 months, I would have gotten like $2,200 a month.
Okay.
So I'm like, so they were like, so I was like, well, can y'all supplement to make sure that I'm getting paid $2,200 a month? Because $20,000 is, even though I'm getting for 12 months, I was like, I can figure out over the summer. That 3 months, I'm certified as a nurse assistant. I can work at McDonald's if I have to, but I'm not going down to $1,600 a month.
Right.
So I had them give me, and then and it's interesting because she didn't think about it that way. I was like, $21,000 for 9 months, $20,000 for 12 months.
12 months, yeah.
12 months. Because like over the summer, there'll be like TA shifts. Right. So I was like, y'all need to give me some more money. And then of course they give me the graduate college fellowship that I was nominated for was the diversity one. So I didn't get nominated for the one that was 3 years and $25,000 for 12 months. I got the nominated one for the one that's $20,000 2 years, and it's the diversity one because I'm the Black girl. So if I'm the only Black girl, you nominate me for the diversity one because nobody else, you can't nominate anybody else for that one.
Yeah, it's wild stuff.
First of all, why is the diversity one less money? That pisses me off. And I've noticed that just for all these fellowships, like when it's diversity, and because people just don't put their money where their mouth is. But I guess if I was to talk about my mentorship experience, like my very first research experience was horrible. Like it was when I was an undergrad, between my junior and senior year, I got this position as a field tech to go out. So we were supposed to go to Colorado, Arizona, and trap prairie dogs. And I only lasted a month because I was the only Black person in the crew. I'm also like I worked to put myself through undergrad. So I actually had to quit my job for the summer to go do this research experience because I knew I wanted to do research. So we were supposed to, the whole thing was we were supposed to camp and we're doing prairie dog stuff. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I had to go get a tent for the first time, sleeping bag, all this stuff. We're camping. So I'm like, okay, let me get me a camp stove. And then I go there and you have like these rich white kids where they want to go out to eat every night. I ain't got that type of money. So basically they branded me as, and also they wanted to like drink. So they kind of branded me as antisocial because I would rather stay at the campsite. I didn't want to go to Benihana's every night or whatnot because I just literally don't have the money to go eat out every day. I'm like, I got my camp stove, my pan with my water and my ramen noodles. That's what my dinner is. Or they're like, let's go hiking. And I'm like, but we don't have nowhere to go to take a shower. Like we go hiking, but it was all like on reimbursement. Mm-hmm. So we had like the vehicle, but we were supposed to get reimbursed for gas, but then they want me to like help chip in, like, let's split the gas cost and we'll get reimbursed. But I'm like, we only get paid once, reimbursement happens like later. And this whole project was for, it was a PhD student project who was like the lead. So she's already didn't have that much experience. But so I would be like, well, no, I'm not gonna, I'll just stay here while y'all go do that. So I don't have to contribute as much money in gas money because I don't have the money to wait to get reimbursed. So, and then there was one time where I was like, we need to find a laundromat because I need to wash my clothes. And this was like on week 3. And it was like, well, because it was 3 of us. So it was this black, white girl, white guy, and then me. And it was like, well, I don't need to wash my clothes. Do you need to wash your clothes? I don't need to wash my clothes. And I was like, well, I need to go to a laundromat because I'm sorry, but I change my underwear every night. And I bought 3 weeks of underwear, but I still need to I need some clean clothes. I don't know about y'all, but my mama taught me to wash. But what's actually really interesting is those 2 people, and they kind of went behind my back and told the PhD student, and like she came and she just basically just sent me home. Like no conversation went on. And she later apologized like 4 years later when things started really getting to the forefront of like Black Lives Matter. And she was like somebody that was like in Colorado and stuff, but she went and she got a professorship where she was working at the University of Florida, and where she actually started interacting with Black students, and she actually started realizing that racism is a real issue. And it kind of like just dawned on her about like that what happened when we might have been that was racially motivated. So she actually because me and her, we were still like all of us, well, those 2 is funny because they did this shit and then they like unfriended me on Facebook, but I was still her friend on Facebook at this time. So she actually watched me go through my progression of my master's program, and then I was like in the middle of my PhD program when she actually apologized about that incident, because she's like, I'm starting to realize that it might have been racially motivated, and I'm sorry that I, the fact that because she was kind of like, I'm a PhD student, I don't have time, I'm just going to send you here. And what was hilarious is, because one of my other friends, we both were at the same school, and we both ended up we were both this project. So, because she hired 6 people, but split into 2 teams of 3. But she separated me and my friend who went, but that girl stayed the same summer. But what turns out happening was, and this is just complete, it's gossip, but it's real. Because the 2 people that was on my team, they're married now with a kid. The girl, she was actually engaged when we were at this time. So during that time, they ended up getting together. And then when she told me when they hooked up that they were trying to find, they were like, because like we were at separate sites, but they had like hooked up to like in the middle of summer, they were trying to find a clinic because apparently one of them gave the other one an STD. So they were hooking up at that time. And then they basically messed up all the samples because they didn't properly keep everything on ice, because we were collecting flea and samples, because that was the thing. Apparently I was too judgmental, because I'm too judgmental because I like to follow proper protocols. And of course, I am the youngest person on this crew, because one person who's the woman, she had just finished her master's degree. The guy, he just graduated his bachelor's, and I'm the one that's a junior about to be a senior. But I'm like, okay, we have to do this. We're supposed to do this, whatever. But I'm being too judgmental. I'm being too maybe controlling, even though I'm the youngest person and I'm the Black person. So apparently I don't know anything, but half that project, the lady ended up losing her samples because they wasn't responsible enough to keep everything happening. And then the dude, I was actually just I'm writing this because sometimes I'm just nosy sometimes, but so I know that they have a kid now. Oh yeah, because there was a Facebook memory that just showed up because it happened. It started in May, and so I was like, let me go check and see what's happening. Dude just graduated with his master's degree last year.
Oh.
And I'm just, because it's funny, because I'm just like, oh, y'all kicked me out. You had your bachelor's for me. And like, literally, I'm a whole ass professor and you just not got your bachelor's degree.
Right.
Like, but I'm whatever. But that experience didn't deter me from still wanting to be in, do research. So I ended up doing my master's degree. And one of the things that you said that kind of like resonated with me when you were talking about your undergrad advisor, no, women. Yeah. When you were in his lab, when you were saying where he said that, if you don't know something, he'll teach you. And then if he doesn't know it, y'all learn together. And that was one of my things with my advisor, Tim. He was like, when I was doing it, he was like, okay, so the thing when he decided to accept me to his lab, he was like, so the project that I was doing, he's like, you got to do like LTRE analysis and you do that in R. And he was like, I don't know R, but you can spend a whole summer figuring it out. And then he was like, so it wasn't like, he didn't expect me to come in already knowing this stuff. And so the master's program that I went to is you apply for the master's program. You don't have to have an advisor when you get accepted into the program. And the first semester, they had like this orientation class where all the professors that were accepting students, because this wasn't like an R1 school. This was like they terminal masters. But all the professors that were having students, they had folders that had papers that were representative of the research. And so it was like, as a student, you would like go through, and if you find a paper that you like, you would do a presentation on that paper, and you would invite the advisor to come to watch your presentation. And just of you presenting a paper of theirs or a paper that's of their topic. And that was like one of the things that like I was really interested in that. So that's how he ended up accepting me as his advisee. But then he was like, and this is not like my master's program wasn't like, you didn't get like a stipend for it. It's like I actually paid for my master's, or at least the first year. The second year I ended up getting this assistantship thing. But that summer he was like, okay, I have funding in the summer. You'll be an intern for the summer, but full-time and making way more money than I was making as an assistant. He was like, just spend it learning R. Like, he's like, I don't really know R. He's like, just spend however much time, like literally, I will pay you to learn R so you can do your research. And I like spent the first month just learning R on my own. And he was like, and that was this thing, it was like, we kind of like learned together, and like, so he was my advisor, but he eventually became my mentor. And even now, like, he retired and he's actually in Georgia, and like we're Facebook friends. Like we text each other. It's like we're like, even though he's like this 70-year-old white man, but he cool people. So and my it was weird at first because I was like, when we would go like when we did field work, we would camp, and like the first time we went, he had like brought beer, and I was just like, am I supposed to be drinking beer with my advisor? This is weird.
Yo, in undergrad, it like they wanted me to drink with them. I don't drink because I think the taste of beer is disgusting. It's just watered down. It's piss water, pretty much. In my opinion. Anyways, hot take. So we went to. We was going to a conference. We went to a conference. It was in Boston, and my advisor went to Harvard for his postdoc, and he took us to his favorite pub, and then so it was him and then another professor, and they bought a pitcher, and I was just like, I don't drink, and they was like, so you're gonna make us drink this pitcher by ourselves?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, bought it. And so he was like, yo, you're gonna have to carry us back to the hotel. I'm strong enough. I got you. I got them drunk.
Just one pitcher of beer though?
I think their tolerance like decreased as they got older.
Okay, but yeah, but I mean, I do drink and I like beer, and like I love IPAs, and I always like try to like I'm the type of person where like I always try new different beer, like so I've like tried different cider, stouts, all that stuff, and it's just nice. Like I rarely order the same beer twice. If there is one, I probably will drink. I would drink Heineken more than once or Blue Moon, but for the most part, I just just try a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, so then when I went to my PhD advisor, he was cool. He was more like structured. I was his first PhD student that had a master's. So that was also one of the things with him, because he was just like, he's used to PhD students coming straight from undergrad, maybe have a little research experience, but never one that has a full-fledged master's and already have like a publication. Or I think by the time when I started there, I already had one published paper and then one that was in the process. And then I got a few more like for my master's work process while in the progress, because I ended up graduating my PhD with 8 publications. But they with me and him, it was also kind of cool because he was a little bit older and he actually reminded me a little bit of my dad, where he's like strict. I don't know if y'all know like Harry Potter.
I mean, I understand a little Harry Potter, yeah. Okay,
so my first advisor was pretty much like Remus Lupin. Tim was pretty much like Remus Lupin. My PhD advisor was more like Professor McGonagall. So he's like strict, but he has like he has everybody's best interest. So like he's like very stern and strict, but then he will still like will go to bat for you. Because he was like, when that director, he was like, who was she to tell me about my student and whatever. But he was cool, but he also there were some things like times where like I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do my stuff, I got my shit, he say like, hey, he needs 2 weeks to give a thing. I give him my stuff. And then like there were 2 people that were thinking about, they were supposed to be graduating that semester. And he had my chapter, like my first chapter that I was trying to get, like that I had it done and I wanted to get it published. And he sat on that for like 3 months because he was trying to get the other 2 people finished. And he would like come in the lab and be like, hey, Scott, hey, whatever. I can't remember other person. He's like, where's your chapter? And I'm sitting here like, dude, you got mine in your email box. Why you asking them for their writings, but you got mine? And, just because I got 2 more years to graduate don't mean nothing. I'm still like, I got this timeline. I'm trying to get my stuff published. And then, of course, those 2 people didn't even graduate that semester. But towards the end, he did apologize to me for it because he was like, you know what? I was really trying to get them out. But he was like, I'm not going to do that anymore because he's like, that's really unfair to you. And I'm like, yeah. And then you kind of wonder if it's like, racially, like what would have happened. But there's stuff that I knew that I couldn't have gotten away with. Like other people would like miss deadlines and stuff like that. And nothing was looked on them as though like that was a part of their character. But I knew that if I missed a deadline, I mean, it just wasn't in my nature. But if I did, it would have been thought of, oh, he would never, ever accept another Black student ever again. Cause I'm not just myself. It's just, we represent everyone for whatever reason. But one thing I did like about him, that he was willing to learn from his mistakes. And like, there were certain things that would happen and he would look at things and be like, why is Sam getting treated differently? And I'm like, why am I getting treated differently? Because he saw the things with like TA evaluations and students and how students treated me and like all the things that he had that he didn't have with his other students. And then from him knowing me personally, he's like, I know these things are not true, but why are people saying that? Like, because apparently I'm unapproachable or too, and I mean, I am kind of blunt. Y'all might notice from the podcast, I will speak my mind or whatnot, but like, I'm still nice. I'm still apparently a sweetheart sometime, but I'm also like, I will tell you how it is. And I'm also the mindset of I'm not going to ask forgiveness, but I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I did, and things worked out. Yeah. And that's the same thing as me being a professor. Like people were like, well, this is not the way things are traditionally done. And I was like, I've never done things the way it was like, I ain't traditional. Well, because I ain't traditional and I'm not a white man. So I can't do the things the way y'all did them.
It's no way. I can't. It's not possible. I feel that.
Hearing your two, because I'm still an undergrad. I'm still relatively young in my career.
Wait, okay,
in my career.
Okay.
In my career, yeah, in my career. All right.
Okay. In the career.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I thought you, because I know you're undergrad, but then I was like, you're not like 22.
No, I'm 24.
Okay.
I ended up.
Oh, you are a baby.
I'm still a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's the facial hair.
If I shave this, I go from my age. What I look like. What do I look like? I'd say I look about 24, 25. Right?
I was thinking maybe 28, 29.
28, 29. Wow. Well, if I shave this, I go from
maybe,
like.
I mean, it's probably like the bald head and then that. And I was just thinking, I was thinking maybe you were just like, you were a non-traditional student where like you maybe went back to school, like maybe, because I know you're in industry. So I was thinking like you probably worked for a little bit and then you're like, you know what? I actually want to so let me go, get my bachelor's degree so I can go to grad school. But yeah, I didn't think you were. I'm young. 24.
Yep, 24. But no, that was a plan because I wasn't. Funds were running out, so I was not switched to online right now, where I'm just doing like one class semester and just paying for it while I'm in working full time in industry. But hearing your two stories, I mean, number one, that's upsetting, the differences that you saw between the white students and you. What is there a way to avoid that for people that are coming up to that, or is that just a rite of, I guess, just something that you have to go through? Yeah, I mean that's a terrible way to say that, but
but it's one of those things. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it is. I don't know if it's really a way for Black students to avoid it. I think a lot of it is, like I say, like I got lucky. And to my PhD advisor, he was really kind of like how my dad, like even my siblings would be like, I could just talk to they were like, you just talk to daddy any type of way. And it's not that I would still be respectful, but I would speak my mind. And some people, they just can't handle that. But like, I would talk to my advisor, and if I didn't like anything, I would like, if I would, I would see something, I'd be like, hey, because even when he would come in and I'd be like, hey, what about my paper? And he's like, I'm gonna get to it. He's like, I'm just trying to like, he's like, I haven't forgotten about you. And I'm like, really? It's been a few weeks. You said it was a 2-week turnaround. And I would tell him like, you said 2 weeks. And it was like, I was his TA at the time. So we'd be like talking about it. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna work on it. And then I'm just like, okay. And then as I'm thinking, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even gonna like race. You kind of like choose your battles. And I was like, at some point he's gonna get to it. And I am ahead of schedule, and I kind of understood the thing. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let him get through this end of this semester and let him see that these people are not gonna graduate this semester. And then he gonna learn his lesson that way. But I think the only thing is like we do need this, like there has to be a better support system. And that's one of the reasons why I make sure, like just me, I'm not going to be an advisor like Dominique's advisor, PhD advisor like me, because there are some toxic Black professors that they basically have the mindset of what they had to go through things. They have to go through hell. So then they're going to put their students through hell. Or in order for them, it's that survivorship bias. They have to like assimilate to the white culture to do. So they end up taking on the characteristics of the white professors that happen to be there so they can, for them to get tenure. But one of the things, at least as allies, that one of the responsibilities I feel like as white allies, they should do is don't, recognize your privilege and don't take advantage of those things. So we need people to like, I mean, I'm like always, I do my deadlines. I'm like, white people, y'all need to stick to deadlines. Don't assume you're going to get this pass, because you were, but it's like, I mean, because you're going to get the pass, but don't let yourself do the pass. Y'all just need to stop being mediocre. Because y'all can survive. Y'all still survive. Because I mean, I was in a lab with mediocre people where they'd be like, my advisor was like, he need to see things twice before he'll let it go through. But then he'll, these mediocre white guys would be like, wait till the end of the last deadline, and then he only see it once, and then he'll just let it pass. But then PIs, if any PIs are listening to this, don't let them be mediocre. If you set a boundary, if you say, I need to see this twice, shit, let that deadline pass. Make it where they can't graduate. Make it where they're going to miss out on this fellowship. Make sure they know that there are consequences to their actions. Because I'm pretty sure if I missed the deadline, or if I didn't do whatever, he wouldn't have let me apply for a certain fellowship. He wouldn't have let me submit something without him doing, like, hold people to the same standards. That's my thing. I'm like, just hold them to the same standards.
Yeah, that's true. Those are facts. I mean, honestly, bro, like I feel like there's so many different things. There's so many different things that could could help, because I don't think, I mean, even for me having a black advisor, I was thinking, oh man, shit is about to be, it's going to be great. But there's a lot of black people out here that are just as shitty as white advisors and white PIs. Like the people who have got, like, so in undergrad, it was a white guy. In grad school, the one who allowed me to leave with my master's degree was a black guy, so that was nice. And I actually got to see him years later as I was finishing up my PhD at a conference right before the pandemic happened. And we was at this mixer for a conference, and he was like, he like, I had my backpack on. He tugged on my backpack. He was just like, "Hey, you made it." He was like, "I knew you would. I knew you was gonna make it." And I was just like, "Bro, I appreciate that." And he actually started being one of my letters of rec for fellowships or grants and stuff. Because he's the chair of the department now at my old university. So yeah, so
that's a good letter of rec.
Let me tell you, and he was happy to write it too. He was happy to write it. But we joked about the past and whatnot, and there's certain people that come along that are amazing, and you can't. It's hard to put a color on whether or not they're going to be a good or bad advisor, because you really can't, because they're either good or bad, period. Also, at the same time, I think white advisors need to realize that we as black students or black postdocs or black faculty, whatever it is, we're going to go through different things, and they have to understand that, because some of them don't understand. So, for example, I don't know if my current boss, advisor, whatever, mentor listens to my podcast, but who knows? But I'm going to tell the story anyways. So I'm obviously the first black person he ever had in his lab. It's blatantly obvious. And we was writing a grant, and as we was writing this grant, I get the comments back. I get scored. It's a NIH F32, and I get scored. And in the comments, and the reviewers were like, "Well, his grades were average." So I had to, in a rebuttal to those reviewers, as I resubmitted the F32, I had to address why I had average grades in undergrad. And so we're writing this rebuttal, and we're going back and forth. We're going back and forth with edits. Like I'll edit something, boom, send it to him. He'll edit it, boom, send it right back. We're just going back and forth. So when he addressed for me my grades, my average grades, and he said something of the effect that, obviously speaking for me in first person, he was like, "Well, I didn't know the importance of grades until it was too late." And I was just like, and I read that, and I was taken aback. And I was like, "Oh, shit. Well, it's time to address this shit." He said, well, and the thing is, so a good advisor or a good mentor is willing to take criticism, is willing to be open to listening to anything that you have to say. They're open. It's like an open door policy. You can come to them with stuff, especially if they fuck up, or especially if you do something that makes them uncomfortable, or do something that makes you uncomfortable. You are able to go to them, right? So I read it, and I was like, all right, let me change this. Give them the real story. I was like, I changed it, and I was like, well, due to, I grew up in a all black community where they low on funds. The school is shut down now. Let's just say that the school is shut down now. So it was just
Mine's a Meyer.
Damn. So like it was I had to give them the real story, and then so I emailed them. I was like, hey, we need to talk about this. I felt very what's the word I used? I was extremely offended by what you wrote. And he was just like, I'm sorry, I was just writing, and I didn't know. And then so when we had our face to face, and he was just like, just as I sat back and thought about it, he was like, fuck, this was bad. Like, I can see in hindsight.
Why would you don't know the importance of grades? We've been getting graded since kindergarten.
Right. But that's the thing, though. Like, when you think about, and I think about his journey compared to mine, because he didn't have any troubles, with
you don't think
advisors.
Black people know what the importance of grades are?
I think he was going.
That's our problem. That's our problem. We don't know what the importance of grades.
I guess.
I'm sorry.
I guess so. I know. So I was just like, look, man. I told him, I was like, look, I'm gonna. This is a very much a teachable moment here, and so what it is you can't say things like that, because you know what it makes it, like they already know that I'm Black. I told them that they already know that I'm Black. So now they're gonna think that I'm a lazy Black person, and that now they read this statement. This one statement could fuck up the whole grant. And I was like, look, man, if they're going to be like, oh, this guy is lazy anyway, and they're going to throw that shit out. So, and he was just like, yeah, I understand. And like, I had to break it down for him, but he was willing to listen. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing. Be willing to listen. Be willing to understand. I know you, for the most part, a lot of white people in these positions can't like just fathom the things that happen, that we go through, but try to empathize, try to understand, try to get a grasp, and so that when the next person comes along, they can fully understand. Oh, I can't be saying these kinds of things. That's a little offensive. I have to be mindful of things. You have to be mindful of certain things.
And one thing that's so crazy with grades that I just can't understand, like there's so many Twitter posts where people be like, oh, well, I got C's in this and I failed this class or whatnot, but I'm a professor now. But then when it takes time to recruit students, they're using grades as a metric of whether or not they're going to take students. But then you look at your own grades and you're like, but you're saying that grades didn't matter because you ended up getting, mm-hmm. doing this. And you still succeeded, but then you will base your entire decision on whether or not to accept a student based on them getting, or whether or not they're going to get, like, even that's the one thing I dislike about like the NSF-GRFP, where the whole purpose of this program was to help students that just to give the students that otherwise would not have been able to make it through grad school, give them these fellowships. But then the students that get the grad schools, get the NSF-GRPs, are the ones that been doing research for entire undergrad. They have the best grades. They were already at R1 institutes. Some of them, their parents are professors. So these students would have been successful as a PhD student anyway, yet they get this very prestigious fellowship that give you $35,000 a year, where you make like twice as much as other PhD students. Dang. But y'all are supposed to be helping disadvantaged students, yet the ones that y'all give to, it goes to a select number of highly rated R1 schools where these students are not writing their research proposals.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And it's right. And that's why, so I'm kind of leveraging, I'm leveraging my Blackness right now in my postdoc, in many different ways. But honestly, I was like, yo, listen, I does this science shit. I think he's like surprised about like, cause he didn't like when I came in with my project, I told him, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen. We're going to make a great discovery. And he thought I was crazy. Like, especially when I first like came in with like what I thought where the project was going to go, or what was happening with this certain this phenotype of these cells in this pathway. He thought I was crazy to think that this is what was going on, and then come to find out that I'm right, and he's just kind of like, I thought you was crazy, but you're right. And I was like, yeah, I know. No, don't worry about it. I know, bro. Honestly, you got to come, like, some people don't like I had situations where a lot of people hated the fact that I was confident about my shit, and I was just like, well, if I was passive, then you wouldn't believe that I was able to do it. So either way, I'm going to be confident as fuck, and I'm going to do this shit and be like, boom, this is what it is. But I at the same time, I want to make sure that I pay it forward, you know. So I told him, I was like, hey, look, like I want to start this initiative here, somewhere else. Who cares? Because I want for the most part, because I ran into a lot of people or a lot of Black students who didn't have positive research experiences starting off, and that kind of deterred them from science, and they didn't think it was for them or research was for them. And I was like, well, I didn't even know research wasn't even a thing before someone told me about it. I didn't even know it was like a possibility. And so I want to try to reach out to those like undergrads who, black undergrads who are in the sciences who didn't know that this was a possibility, and give them the opportunity to excel in something that they didn't even know was a thing, you know? So
it's crazy because like I didn't know research was a thing until like my junior year, and I took an ecology course, and then I did that research tech experience, and I ended up, it was horrible, but then anybody else would be like, well, fuck this shit, I'm gonna go back to my original plan of being I was wanting to be a medical doctor, OB, but then I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna let that one experience like, because I could see that there was some like racial undertones in there. I was like, I'm gonna try again, but there's so many people that pushes them out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's why I want to like start this initiative, start this thing where I gather a group of PIs who are willing to take on underrepresented minorities, who want to have them in their lab, who are willing to understand their culture, because and I have to, like, I know I have to spearhead this thing, and I already got I got the ball rolling on it. And I told him, I was like, look, man, I want underrepresented minorities. I want to go reach out to them, whatever class they're in, organizations, all that. I want to be the one going to them and telling and speaking to them about research. No matter what, they need to have a black someone black that they can go to in the research field. Even if I'm dealing with a group of students, I want to be the ones that they can come to and talk to about anything. And then I actually have a black advisor or a black mentor in the department, which me and him are the only two black people here. But we talk to each other all the time, and I know he'd be willing to take on some of that advisory role, mentoring role. And so, and then we get other people, and it can grow into something really, really amazing. We can get more minorities into research, into science.
Are you going to have like the PIs of the labs that these students going to be in take some type of training as well as because like there are programs like that, like here there are these programs that are supposed to help minoritized students gain these research experience, but then they have an awful time because the PIs, they'd be like, oh cool, free undergrad tech where I don't have to pay anything, but I get someone to work in my lab, but I'm also going to treat them like crap. And then they end up hating research anyway, because they don't understand. They have these certain perceptions of what they can and cannot do. And they just really want some free grunt labor. And I've seen this on these couple of programs, and it really annoys me. I have this one student, she actually just texted me that she got approved to go to Costa Rica, which is awesome because that almost got shut down from the IRU, but she's a part of this program, and her advisor that she is working with. And so now she's not stuck in his lab working. She gets to do this other thing this summer, but he's a white man, and he doesn't have to pay her, but the way that he treats her and the way that he has these like expectations is like, this is not what you're supposed to do to introduce a student to research. Like y'all, the way I feel like just research needs to change in general, but this like all or nothing mentality, this research is your entire life. You better answer my email at 3:00 in the morning, will detour people, because people want to have a life balance. People have other responsibilities, because yes, she's doing this program, but she's also an RA because she's an RA, so she can have free room and board. for school in order to put herself to school. So she has another responsibility, and the program pays her 10 hours a week. Why are you trying to expect her to be in a lab for 30 hours a week? Plus she has to get good grades. Like this is
it's fucked up.
I mean, it's bullshit.
Yeah. No, I get that shit because I was an RA too, so I completely understand. And that's also a part of the initiative. That's I was like, yo, man, I want to make sure that any PI wanting to be a part of this program has to take a workshop and on diversity and science and STEM and understand.
I want to do so I'm the faculty fellow for my college, and I want to initiate any PI bringing in a minoritized graduate student has to take. For you to accept a student of color, you have to take some type of training that will know, so and there's going to be like a regularly audit process of like how that experience is, because having these toxic advisors is not, y'all can't, because I'm like, and people are like, well, then I don't, and then people be like, well, then and if the downside to that is they don't take a student, and people might be like, well, that's going to stop opportunities. No, we don't want nobody in no toxic lab. I would rather not have nobody. I'd rather them not have that opportunity than them to have this toxicity that affects their mental health. They get their PhD, but then they have post-traumatic stress disorder. Because one of my friends that I was the bridesmaid for, she has PSTD from her advisor, and her advisor was a Black man.
Crazy. Right.
And she has PSTD. Like, where her trying to defend her dissertation, like for her to get that, she was literally, her husband had to like come, or her fiance came for like 2 months to help, because she kept blacking out because she was so she kept having so much stress and trauma, and ended up in the hospital and in like an inpatient thing because of him and everyone's like, she got gaslighted because they're like, no, a Black professor can't be racist. Like, what are you talking about? And she would have been the second person in engineering to graduate from that program. And they're like, he's not doing this stuff, but he favored the white students. He favored the Chinese students. He was choosing, he was believing in undergrad over her. And like the undergrad is like, I did this and this. And she was mentoring him, and the undergrad is acting like he's teaching her the stuff. And the advisor one undergrad broke one of the expensive equipment by putting some wrong material in it, and they just automatically blamed her for it.
That's crazy.
And then it turns out that it was actually the undergrad. I'm like, why would you assume that a PhD student that has a master's that knows how this equipment, all of a sudden, I was like, you can't, that just makes no sense.
It doesn't. And I mean, exactly. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that they are prepared to take on a minority student. And I'm going to get like a first.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying not to say this, but can you please use minoritized? Because minority is a noun and it assumes that we are a minority, but use minoritized, which is a verb, is something that they do upon us, because we're not minorities. We're minoritized.
Well, minoritized.
I'm sorry. It's
minoritized.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard minoritized.
You haven't heard
before.
that? I'll send you. I'll send you the stuff. But yeah, so it's like, we're not a minority, because minority is like belittle. That's using it as a noun, but it's actually a verb. We are minoritized. White people minoritize us. They oppress us. We're instead of calling people slaves, you call them enslaved. Because like it's just like language matters. And at first I was like, I'm just gonna let it go, and then it started to eat at me. But yeah, minoritized.
I never heard of the phrase. I never heard the word before.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean it's just like more recent, the last couple of years. But yeah, I can definitely send that.
Do your thing, minoritized. Yeah. So yeah, I still want to create this space where we can bring Black and brown kids in, and they and the PIs and the people in the lab have to really be mindful of what they're saying, because we all have to code switch, but what you say out there in your free time, you can't be saying that same shit in the lab. You can't be saying whatever racist rhetoric or whatever discriminatory rhetoric you got out there that you say in your free time, you can't be bringing that to the lab. So that's I want to make sure that people are, prepared to bring in someone minoritized. I don't even know how to use that now. See,
yeah, a minoritized, someone that is minoritized.
Yeah.
Because like people say women are a minority, but honestly, there are more women than men. Right. Minority means that they're exclusive. So it's not that they are a minority, it's that we minoritize them. We make people, well, not that we, because I don't minoritize women, but like people minoritize women.
Right.
Okay. And I just put a link in the chat that you could read, just read more about it. But yeah.
Bet. Okay. Yeah, so I want to do that. Plus, I'm starting out. They have this program at UT that brings in people. I don't know. They said they're Black and brown kids, but I don't know if they are or not. So we're gonna see. But like they want me to talk. Like I was like, I'm trying to figure out how to use.
No, I'm saying you're gonna have to check that, because I have a peer mentoring program that it was only for minoritized students, and I had a couple of so I was looking for peer mentors and mentees, and we asked them what their racial thing, and one person said Black and white.
They're white.
And I Googled them. I'm like, you're white. Like, no. I mean, you might have a Black stepfather, but I'm like, no, you're not gonna. Sorry. I only want underrepresented minoritized students as mentors. You're not about to traumatize these first year Black students.
I have to. But yeah, so I'm coming in and I'm leading a workshop on how to be mentors and how to interact with, and basically the do's and don'ts of working with minoritized students. The do's and don'ts. Like that's what I'm.
You did it right. You said it right. You used it in the sentence right.
Look at me, I'm learning. I mean that's
always a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta learn to be, as a mentor. You gotta be willing to learn.
You gotta be willing to learn. So these are important things, man. I mean, and so that's what I'm doing, and making sure that these kids have positive research experiences. And if I can, and honestly, I'm going to ask them if I can step in any kind of way, especially if the mentors are white. I'm just like, yo, if they need someone black or someone of color to come to, like, yo, tell them to, hit me up, because
yeah, I mean, you should have multiple mentors. Don't just because everyone, you can't depend on one person for all of your mentoring. You need someone like. Someone on campus, off campus, someone for personal things. You need family mentor, like someone for family things, friend things like that. Right. And there's another reason why your advisor shouldn't be your advisor can be a mentor, but they shouldn't be your only mentor, because sometimes you got to vent about your freaking advisor.
Oh yeah.
You need advice about how to deal with your advisor.
For sure. I mean, I got multiple mentors now. I didn't at first, which sucked, but I got multiple people I could go to now, so it's nice. It's real nice. It's something that I've never really experienced before until now, so it's dope. So yeah, man, and we have talked about this for a while. We've had a great conversation about mentoring, just understanding mentoring just as a whole. So before we, make this thing long as hell, is there is there any lasting words or advice or any lasting things that you want to say? I'll start with you, Trevor. Anything lasting? Last thoughts.
My biggest thing, you said this at the very beginning, that you knew what you had to bring to the table and you communicated that. And the mentor-mentee relationship should be a two-way street. So be confident in, who you are, what you have, your abilities, and put that out. Show them this is what you want to do, and be confident in that. And, a good mentor should accept that and help you along that path to do what you want to do. So that's kind of my lasting little thought.
Nice. And Dr. Samnika.
So I was because I brought this up, the mentor map that I was talking about, and I just decided to bring it up so I can just kind of so basically what I want to do is just share some of the categories of when you're looking for mentors and the type of mentors that you should have. So you should have mentors for your professional development, for emotional support, for cultural support, role models, safe space, intellectual community, access to opportunities, and accountability. So when you're thinking about your mentors, make sure you have different mentors and hopefully multiple mentors in those 8 categories.
Nice. I'm gonna need to go ahead and write that list down to make sure I got people for each one of them.
I'll forward it to you. I will forward it to you.
Really, because that was a good tidbit. That was a good tidbit. Hey man, I honestly, bro, I think I poured out everything that I wanted to say about mentorship. You know, trust your gut when you're going to trying to find a mentor. If it doesn't smell right, it probably isn't right. In many cases, especially when it comes to research, because in the PhD world, it can make or break you. It can make or break you. It's huge.
You only get one. Well, I was gonna say you only get one shot, but
shots. Okay, Detroit, 8 Mile.
I'm sorry. I was thinking Hamilton a little bit, but okay. Yeah, Eminem too. Okay. My favorite rapper.
Yeah. So yeah, man, just it's hard to find the right people, but when you do, hold on to them, because they're going to make life that much better. Especially going through this crazy ass scientific STEM research world, because it's man, it's unpredictable for sure. In many cases. So listen, I appreciate Trevor and Dr. Samnika for having this great mentoring conversation with me. Hopefully you guys got some really great tidbits out there. And I appreciate you guys for listening, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, stay safe, stay healthy, drink a lot of water, rest, relax, stay stress-free, all that stuff. And we see you guys on the next episode of At the Bench. Peace.